Well, hello and welcome to Qlik Spotlight, and we are at SKO 2020 in Las Vegas, a mad place this is in here. And I have under my spotlight today one of the most important customers who did a session on the main stage, Patrick. So Patrick Straub, have I pronounced
Straub, right? Yeah.
That's Straub, right, okay. So I've got your title down as a VP of Business Intelligence. So IAS is a company that you will work for. For people who maybe don't know who you are and who IAS are, just a brief explanation on that, please.
So IAS is an automotive warranty company based in Austin. There's a lot of companies out there that do similar things. We're in about 4,000 dealerships in the United States out of around 18,000, so about 22% of the dealerships carry our products. We've been around since the 80s. And in the industry as a whole and our company, people stay a long time. It's very relationship oriented. Senior leadership, been around for decades and never had a need to innovate. But because it's based on car sales, you can guarantee that the data systems were there that allowed salespeople to get paid.
Yes, of course, yes.
So we actually had really good data, but didn't really do much in terms of other than just processing commissions and paying claims. We didn't really do much with it as an industry, and so flash forward to today, and now you got an industry that's getting very disrupted by how consumers buy vehicles. Complexity of cars is different.
Yeah, of course. The computers in cars are just amazing what they do.
Oh yeah. And now the industry is being is having to innovate, and some are smart about it and some are not. And my job, as I look at it, is basically to be that kind of driver of the data culture. It starts with our CEO, who's fostering this, but when it comes to materializing it, and I mean, it's a lot of what I do is basically. This is not the right term, but they say when you have a good hammer, everything looks like a nail. We have a lot of nails at our company from a data perspective, and so I look around and I find nails and we whack them as hard as we can, and we also it's like a Johnny Appleseed thing. We're getting people on our campaign. It's getting people to believe in it and go, okay, I get it, and then they can go find their own nails.
Yeah. So you mentioned the move for your analysts from creating reports to solving business problems. Has this meant a different mindset for the analysts, a different skill set for them?
Yeah, I mean, so it got to the point where our analysts basically became like a drive-through fast food window for executives and business owners who's like, I need this piece of information. And they're like, all right, fine, here you go. And then it wouldn't be what they really wanted or what they needed. And they'd come back and the next day say, that wasn't quite what I wanted. Can I get something else? And now with Qlik, we can say, all right, let's stop being just a fast food drive-through window. Let's be more engaging. Let's talk about the problems, and let's craft solutions together on what is it you're trying to solve for, Mr. Business Owner. And then we can collaboratively work together. And so that's been the biggest shift is being a straight-up report writer or report giver of information to a solutions engineer on understanding the business problem and knowing what data can do to help achieve it, and actually creating that solution and bringing it to the market and bringing it to the users.
So has that also, because we talk about self-service and that ability to navigate around your data, but because I presume they were writing reports, the timescale between yes, I want this done to the report being produced is also going to be quite high, quite long, isn't it? So have you managed to sort of squeeze that down now and make the because asking a question, and when a question comes in a month's time, your question's changed, or the answer isn't valid anymore. Has that helped as well?
It has. The availability of the data is definitely more enhanced. What I find interesting is we're entering kind of pioneering new territory where we'll have a project, and it'll be the 9th or 10th iteration of questionings, like where we finally get to the golden nugget of like, okay, this is. But in the old world, we never would have gotten past iteration 2, because it took so long to get data and give it to someone. They're like, you know what? It's not probably what I want, but it's good enough. And now we can iterate so fast that we're getting to those derivative questions. So you get to question 3, but you couldn't have got to question 3 without asking question 2. And so on. And so now we're getting 9 questions deep. And that's where you really find a lot of creative, deeper understanding of the problem, which leads to a more, sincere and accurate response to that problem. I mean, the more you are innately, and intimately understanding what is the root cause of the issue, then the solutions just tend to kind of float to the top.
Yeah. Now, there's a wonderful story about how it came about with Jamie and connections last year. So you were looking, I think, Alteryx, weren't you, at that point?
Yeah.
And then you saw the data prep and the data use that we have with Opportunity and Data Catalyst, etc. Just explain that story a little bit in a bit more detail as to what happened there, because you spoke about it on main stage as well earlier. Didn't you?
So we've been in heavy acquisition mode, and some of the acquisitions are downstream channel partners, and it's not the biggest to integrate, but we had just purchased a large competitor,
right?
And we were going to integrate, soup to nuts, and along the way, this was like acquisition number 8 or 9.
Yeah.
The accounting team had just been Frankenstein with, like, every time we acquire someone, they would get their monthly reports, and it would just be this. It was a hodgepodge of information, and so they were really suffering from just the growth. Get a data management tool to help with these reports and help create some efficiencies, and they recommended Alteryx. And so we're at Connections, and at the same time, my team, the BI team, and this is a good problem to have, but as success breeds success, there's more problems. So Qlik got very adopted highly in the company. Great. More data was asked for, and now the loud drums like banging on our door was like, we need the data, and that was our the big knock on the team was we couldn't respond very quickly. So that's where Data Catalyst was really enticing. So I'm watching Connections, and Mike Capone is getting ready to introduce and announce the Opportunity relationship acquisition, as well as talking about Data Catalyst, and I'm thinking. And then basically, I had walked into that entire conference, okay? And we had already planned out, we're gonna have this big monolithic data warehouse and everything's gonna go through it.
Yeah.
And he's like, and it's like one of his first sentences, in my former life, I used to think we had to have a big monolithic data warehouse and ram everything through it. And like, boy, was I wrong. And I was like,
read your mind.
Yeah, it was like, wow. And so I knew Jamie was in the room.
Yeah.
So I texted her, I said, is he talking about the same thing as we're looking at Alteryx for? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And so that's why I was like, all right. It's like, are you guys considering buying it? And I was like, yeah, we were. I mean, it wasn't my team that was buying it. It was the accounting team, because they had their own needs. And I was like, so I just texted the CFO. I said, where are you guys at? And he's like, well, we're about to sign. Can you just hit pause?
I'd hate to see the look on that Alteryx rep's face when that happened.
Yeah, it was, but we had a full and sincere evaluation of all the tools, and it wasn't like we went with Data Catalyst just because it was Qlik. It actually was a better tool, and ironically, it helped my team with data profiling and data management and a data catalog, which again selfishly I wanted it because of. We could help our own constituents with the data access. Opportunity was also helping because in acquisitions, we have our main source of data is the contract administration, the contract system, the contract database, and we have and they're in the teens, and so sometimes we have to to get it out, and these are AS400 databases from the 90s, let alone who can work on it, let alone why these were engineered and architected the way they were. So, and we had done a massive migration the year prior with no tools, and it was the worst. And the only thing we got out of it was the scar tissue on, like sometimes you got to eat dirt to know you don't like the taste of it. Yeah. Okay, we had a lot of dirt on that one, but it was good. So then we're like, all right, how would we do it differently in our postmortem? Like, first thing we would do is we would stand up reporting in a dual fashion. Let the old host system do its reporting, and let us stand it up on the side. And then when we're convinced we got all the business logic and all the knowledge of where the data is stored and how it gets into this report, because a report is the population. What contracts go into this report versus that report? What is the business logic to make these numbers do their thing? After we were happy that all that was, sufficient, then we could talk about moving the data. And Opportunity was like hitting a chord with our CIO, because she was like, she had to watch us suffer through the migration. And she's like, this could definitely be a game changer. So the team that was in charge of that evaluated Opportunity, and it came out with, glowing colors. And, and we were like, all right, well, this is a 2-year project plan for the whole thing. And I think we were expecting some data out of a Tundi like in 6 months, and we had it like within a month after it was like launched.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were starting to do that reporting in a dual fashion straight away. And it's one thing that's not changing. Again, it's a good problem to have, but the appetite for information is it's like a flywheel. It gets faster and faster. And to me, it's about having the right approach and philosophy and just ecosystem, if you will, which is not just the technologies, the partnerships and the people. So you can say, all right, we can handle what's coming our way. We don't know what it's going to be. Yeah. We know we're going to be fine, and we have the right framework to take get it done.
So how are your customers seeing? What would they be seeing that is different? What would they how will it be exposed to them? This is what you're going to do it for, isn't it? Otherwise,
enhanced customer service, so less time on a phone, for instance. Dealerships could get maybe more. We have the ability to look at how customers buy our products, which ones are repeat buyers of a certain product, which ones they don't buy. Dealerships are getting more sophisticated. They want to retain you as a customer for life. And so we could, help them inform that decision by saying, all right, well, these are the products that people buy from you guys and they'll come back. And these products people buy and they always come back. And so that type of information. And just, it's interesting. We're doing a lot of benchmarking. Dealerships and our customer base in general, channel partners included, they want to know how they're doing versus the other guys.
Yeah, of course,
And so we anonymize information and say, all right, well, here's how you guys are doing versus the average. And whether it's above it or below it, the first question they always ask is, why is it different? What am I doing right or what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?
Excellent. So you mentioned in the case study that ultimately we need the business to be able to move quickly. How do you see that progressing in 2020? And where are you on that journey?
Yeah, we're still early, but when I mentioned this in the discussion earlier, it's about scale. And scale is not just tools, it's like how you think about things and how you approach them, and even how you run a meeting. We had a meeting the other day, and I added up the cost of the meeting. And then I said, well, but this one executive was in there, but only 5 minutes of the hour pertained to him. So his ROI was very low. And so I'm thinking, well, okay, we've got to scale everything. And the mergers and acquisitions is not going to stop. The consolidation is not going to stop. The requests for more information and more consolidated information is not going to stop. So we have to build, scalability into our, existence. And so, and it can manifest itself in several ways. We started a data governance committee, which I chair, and it's only the non-technical executives. And so when we get two different systems of record. And I'm like, all right, well, this one says this is the definition of a new versus used car. And this other one says this is a definition of a new versus used, and they don't align. We need someone on the business side to say, well, here's a discrepancy. Tell us what you wanted to do. And it gets them more understanding of what we're dealing with. As a developer, you want clear requirements, and the clear requirement is not just at the fork of the road, pick the best, the best path. You need to say turn right. And so this helps them understand the problems we're dealing with, and they get and it's highly engaging. So that's also a part of our scaling, which is definitional structure. We need data governance. We need it to be defined, and we can go implement it. And we need tools to implement it. So Data Catalyst is helping us with profiling information, and we can start to do master data management to where. Again, we have a small team. We have to use embedded dotted line people to the BI team throughout the business, the report writers, analysts. But we also use business people as part of the leveraged.
That's important.
So for instance, we have definitional structure for master data management. We'll have an executive sponsor who owns what is the definition of a dealer? Fine. Now we know what a dealer is. Now we need to get a master dealer. Then they have to appoint someone on their team to be the data steward. So now we don't own the data, they do. And so we'll use tools to help find the similar ones. But eventually it comes down to we can't map everything.
No.
And we need a human to look at it. And
choose your battles.
Right. And then we hand it to the data steward and they do the other mapping. But we watch and we say, well, hang on, are you doing it in a way that we could build a business rule into our system? And say, okay, now we can spot that next time. So,
well, we mentioned, or it was mentioned on main stage yesterday, the announcement about ROX AI and Ping, the alerting product. What are your thoughts on that? It's early days. So
it's to me. I think alerting. Okay, when we first started with Qlik, one of the reasons I really liked it was the ability to alert or draw people's attention, like in the sales department. Hey, here are some dealerships that are down year over year, or they're trending the wrong way. And then we actually had to get very prescriptive because, you know, a salesperson only has so many things they can do in a day. And so we're like, okay, well, is it the top 5? I mean, we basically want to make it action item oriented. So instead of saying, hey, here are the 25 accounts that are down this month, say, well, what are the 5 things I need to do right now? And so to me, that's where something like that kind of function, alerting to like, just tell me what I need to do. I need to know right now, so I can go do it. Don't make me as a user have to make that leap of like inference, right? And we actually developed an app in Qlik that did just that. Now it was 5 visualizations, and the header of each visualization was, here's the problem, here's your action item. And so all you do is clip this, send it to this dealer, and say, fix this, and it'll fix the problem. But we have the ability to, and we should. But if we're asking them to get engaged in a new system like Qlik, they're get engaged in the way they interact with data versus old school PDF. Now you have to like interact with it and drill into it and kind of drill out. It takes there's a learning curve. The more you can not ask them to do the effort and just say, look, here's the nugget, just go do it, right? Then the more you can get there, the better.
So it's making BI not a destination. You're actually pushing that information out to them, aren't you, by using the alerting side with that? So like I say, you're on main stage today. Excellent presentation. You and Dave Davenport as well doing that. But what have you got? What have you gone away from SKO? It's great we've got you here, to come along and talk about your experiences. But what will you personally take away from this trip?
Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of the people, and I've always been very vocal about how it's nothing we could have done on our own. We needed the expertise, the guidance, the assistance, just the discussions, as well as things like, as we, and Drew Clark, I've talked to him about this before. As we get more sophisticated as an organization, there are new problems we could not have fathomed in year one, right? We didn't need data management in year one, but now we do, and we're like, it's a cliff, and we're like, I don't see a bridge, and all of a sudden he'll buy something. We're like, okay, saved us again. But to me, I feel like you guys are seeing it too. And so, and I think you may have always seen it, I don't know, but to me, it's a critical success factor and a differentiator. And it's good to see that it's getting the discussion around it and the productization around it, because data literacy as a service.
I think that's another point. I
mean, I have a love-hate relationship with the word data literacy, the term, because I don't really know. It means different things to different people. So to a developer or to someone who has to ideate a solution, it's one thing, but it's also something different to someone who's never going to hit the edit button. They're just going to look at it and click around, and it's just it's a different thing. And the one, the things that factor into how fast we can move it as an organization internally, because most of our stuff that we do in terms of Qlik is usually internally. It's finding people to spot problems that we call they're clickable.
Right.
Yeah, because Qlik's now verb, and so like Uber, right? And so it's like so define. And we've got a couple people. I mean, I can train analysts how to develop in Qlik, easy. I can train some business users how to use Qlik as a business user. The hardest thing we're having a hard time getting accomplished is finding business owners that go, oh, I bet Qlik can solve that.
And if you don't understand the data, you're never going to do that, are you? So that's the business case, the fact that I understand where that comes from, what part of the business that comes from, and so on. So that's how I see data literacy, especially for you.
Yeah, and to me, it's also not just a step change of speeding up the existing process. Maybe it's a holistic, revolutionary way of approaching it, and that's something that I think we're slowly getting, to. Right now, we're doing incremental step changes here and there, but to me, it's what is the utopian ideal way to do it?
A lot of examples of companies that didn't do what you're saying here. You talk about blockbusters, Nokia phones, for example, BlackBerry, that they all failed to see what was going on, and possibly because they weren't reading the data or looking at, what was coming around the corner for them. So It's good that you as a company actually can do that, and you can keep on knocking those nails in with your hammer.
Yeah, and we have quarterly meetings, all hands meetings, and internal leadership meetings, and a lot of the themes have been about data, disruption, change. I mean, for the beyond the senior leadership, we have an extended leadership meeting, and it's like the disruption. At an individual level, a company level, an industry level, it's increasingly getting faster.
Yeah.
And so you can't just bury your head in the sand and go, well, hopefully it won't hit me. It's like, so as a individual team member, you need to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
And as a team, you got to be thinking about it. As a company, it has to be top of mind, and it has to be pervasive. And eventually you get to where it's part of your culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're trying to get to.
You've won.
Yeah. And then our CEO, it starts with him. It's top down. He's insisted from day one, data, accountability, and plus, by the way, when you have a good system like Qlik versus the old school way of just the gut instinct of the executives, decision making isn't centralized at the top. It's disseminated to where it needs to be. And we actually look at that. Where does this decision need to be made?
Absolutely.
Versus where's it being made?
Yeah, filtered down. Well, Patrick, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming along. And hopefully we'll see you SKO 2021. That will be wherever that's going to be. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.